Hey crafters, Lisa here from Fun Stuff Crafts. So glad you could join me today for another Inspiration Friday. So if you have been following me, you may notice that I have got a totally different background. This is my first Inspiration Friday project that I'm doing in my new craft room. Now, I am going to give you guys all a tutorial of the craft room, but there's a few things we still need to work on. So I will have, within the month, a complete tour of the craft room. But today, what I thought would be fun is I've been doing projects to kind of decorate the craft room now that we've got it done. And today, we're going to be working on some window coverings or some valances. Super easy, inexpensive, and a great way to add a splash of color to a room. So hold tight. I'll get my camera angle changed, and I'm actually going to join you right back here, and we're going to cut some fabric. But you guys, before we go, I want to thank you guys so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe and click on the bell, and YouTube should alert you each time I upload a new video. I try to do a tutorial every Friday. That's why we call it Inspiration Friday. The whole goal of my channel is to inspire people to try new things. And by the way, you guys, we hit 5,000 subscribers last week. Thank you so much. And please pass on the word and share this video. My next goal is 10,000 subscribers, so let's hope we get there. So give me a second, I'll join you back here and I'll show you exactly what you need to make valances. Crafters, we're going to get ready and start making these valances for my new craft room. I just love being able to make valances in the color scheme that I want. And you know, some of them are so expensive to make. So I'm going to show you what we're going to start out with for supplies. So I picked up some really cute cotton material, and it goes with the color scheme that I'm doing in my doing in my craft room. So cotton material works out just great. Now you can line it if you want. I'm not going to line these because really they're just for show. So I have 2 yards of material here, and I've also got my trusty rotary cutter, and I've got my ruler, and I've got my mat. That's what we're going to start out with. Now the very first thing that we need to do is we need to measure our window, okay? So my window is 48 inches, and I want to have a little bit of gather, not much, in my valance. And there's so many different styles you guys can do, if you want it really roughly or if you just want it straight. That's up to you. And you'll be able to see when I get done with this what I mean by just a little bit of play. So I'm going to do 1.5 times the length of my window. And then for the width, this is totally up to your guys' decision too. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut my fabric about 22 inches in length, and then we're going to fold it in half. So it's going to be right about with the seam allowance, it's going to be about 10 inches long. So let's go ahead and get started cutting this fabric, and then we'll hop over to the sewing machine. So to cut my fabric, what I like to do is kind of layer it, because I'm going to be using my rotary blade and my ruler. And so again, I've got 2 yards worth of material, and the 2 yards is really my length, okay? So I'm going to be folding my fabric in half the long direction, okay? And then I'm going to fold it again. And the only reason I'm doing this, you guys, is so it will fit on my mat for me to cut. Okay, and then I am going to cut it at 22 inches, because remember I told you that's what my length of my valance is going to be. Okay, so I'm just going, you know what, you guys, I'm going to fold it one more time over. That's one of the reasons why I love the rotary blades. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fold it one more time. And I'm actually going to place it on the 23-inch mark, and I'm going to cut it at the 1-inch mark. So basically it's 22 inches. And just to double check, I can, since I've got 44 inches worth of material, I can fold it over in half and I know I'm cutting it right where I want it, okay? So I'm just gonna move this up, making sure I'm evened up on this side really well. And then I'm going to use my ruler. Now I just love these acrylic rulers. This is my longer one I have. And these guys just cut so nice. Always make sure that you cut away from yourself. And then look how nice that is. So there I have my fabric all cut and all ready to go. Okay, now you guys, I've got 2 windows. So that's why I wanted to make sure that I had this cut twice. Okay, so 2 yards of material is going to cover my two 4-foot windows. Okay, so what we want to do next is, let's go ahead and close that blade. What we want to do next now is take your fabric the long way, okay, and we are going to put right sides together. Okay, so just go ahead and line these up. You guys, these valances are so easy to do. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my right sides together. Okay, I'm going to grab my clips. I forgot to grab my clips to start out with. Should have had those ready to go. And then I'm just going to go ahead and clip it. Now you guys don't need to if you want to just straighten it as you get to your sewing machine, but I just find it really easy. So we're going to clip these, okay? Now I also got my hardware for my window. I picked it up off of Amazon, and just like always, you guys, I'll make sure that I put all the links that I use down below. But one of the fun things is I bought a wider rod. Now there are all different types of rods that you guys can pick from, right? You don't have to do as wide as I did, and I'll show you that when we get over to the sewing table, okay? So there I've got one, and you guys, I'm doing 2 of these, and so I'm just going to really quickly pin the other one, because I just want to be able to sew both of my valances at the same time. So again, what we're doing is we're taking our fabric the long direction, right? We're folding it right sides together. Now another thing, you guys, I normally pre-wash my material, and when I'm doing valances, I normally don't. So that's something, if you guys want to, you definitely can. I don't normally take my valances down and wash them though. They seem to do just fine as they are. And you guys, these are so easy. So if you guys decide to change a color scheme at some point in time, you can whip out some more. I picked up this material at Hobby Lobby, and you know, always use your, if it's not on sale, always make sure you're using your coupon for this. This material actually was on sale when I picked it up, so really, really inexpensive valances that I'm making here. So, okay, you guys, so we're gonna hop over to the sewing machine, okay? And I will meet you over there, and we will start sewing these 2 valances. Okay, so we're over at the sewing machine, and we've got our 2 valances that we've already clipped both back over at the table. And now I have just got a cream colored thread in here, and I am going to do about a 5/8 inch seam on this. And as I go, I'm just going to remove my clips. I'm going to go ahead and do a straight stitch, and I'm going to go forward, I'm going to go back, just like we always do, just to secure that. And then I'm just going to go ahead and sew right along. So I'll be right back. I've come to the end. I'm going to put my back stitch in, and I'm going to clip my threads. Okay, so all I have is a straight stitch going all the way down here now, you guys. Now for the sake of time, I'm going to do my second valance off camera. And what we're going to do now is I've got my iron all ready to go, okay? And what we're going to do is we are going to press our seams. Okay, so now that we've got our seam sewn, and before we turn it, what I want to do is I wanted to give it a good press. And I like to press open my seam at this time. It just makes the pressing when we turn it right side out that much easier to do. So it gives it a nice, clear, crisp line where our seam line is. So I'm just going to go ahead and press each one of the seam, all along the seam open, okay? Once we do that, the next thing we're going to do, you guys, is we are going to turn this right side out. And then we're going to give it another press. This is the one time you're going to have an opportunity to press your valance before you get it up. And so I just like to take the time and make sure that I've got all of my creases of my material out, okay? So I've done the whole seam, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my fabric right sides out, okay? So I've got my arm through there, I'm going to pull it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press it one more time, okay? Now I can feel where that seam is here, and I can give it a really nice press, okay? So one more thing that we want to do is we want to turn in our ends. So after you get a nice press, and I just barely turn it in, you guys, maybe a half of an inch, okay? And then we'll press that. So give that a nice press. This just gives your edges a good finish, okay? Just make sure you're nice and straight on that. You want to do that on both of your edges. So I'll grab the other part, and literally all I'm doing, you guys, is I'm folding in just a little bit here, and I'm folding in a little bit here, and I'm just pulling it tight, okay? And then any of those little strings you can just tuck right in, okay? Made these valances in all of our bedrooms in our house. They're just so fun, and they just give a fun punch of color to the room. Okay, so we've got our fabric all pressed, and now we're ready to put some seams in it to fit our hardware. So let me go grab the hardware, and I'll show you what our next step is. Okay, so this is my curtain rod that I'm going to be using. Now I like to buy the thicker rod. I just think it looks really nice. And this is 2 3/4. Let me just double check that with my tape measure. But it is, excuse me, it's 2 1/2. Okay, so that is 2 1/2. So I want to make sure that I leave room for my rod to be able to go through here. Now there's a couple things we can do. Okay, right now my fabric is, tape measure doesn't want to cooperate with me. My finished length is just about 10 1/2 inches long. Okay, so that's what we've got. Now I like to leave just a little piece at the top, just to add a little bit of ruffle kind of at the top. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take and I am going to sew about an inch seam all the way down. Now my plate on my machine has got an inch measure, okay? If you don't have a measure on your plate, which I have here, there is a trick I've learned. Blue painter's tape. You can take and measure out where your needle is, right? And then you can put a piece of tape here to guide your material, okay? There's lots of other things that you can purchase too, but I just find the tape works well. But I do have a 1 inch mark on mine, okay? So I'm just gonna go ahead and sew a straight seam all the way down. I'm gonna start and stop just like we always do, you guys, and I'll join you right back. So one thing you wanna make sure you're doing is this top seam that we're gonna do, we want to use the fabric that we have our seam line on already, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and mark it at my 1-inch mark on my machine, and I'm just gonna start it, stitch it, and then I'm just gonna use that as my guide and do this all the way down. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got our 1-inch seam all the way down. Okay, now that is only because I want a little piece above my valance. Now what we're gonna wanna do is we want to measure down, and we know that our valance is 2.5. So I want to sew at least a 2 3/4 inch seam down, okay? So if I mark it with my tape measure at 2 3/4, okay, and I'm just going to grab a pin here really quick, and I'm just going to put a pin mark right in there, okay? So I know that I'm at 2 3/4 right here, okay? So what I like to do now is I'm gonna use that tape trick I was just showing you guys, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and place my fabric in my machine, and I'm going to put my needle down, okay? Remove my pin and put my foot down, and then I can see right where my fabric needs to be, okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of blue tape, and I am just going to put it right even, so I make sure I do a straight line. Now I'm lucky enough that I've also got a measurer on my machine, but I just really wanted to show this trick for you guys. And so just make sure you got your tape right there, and you're just going to watch that really close, and we're literally going to sew a seam all the way down, okay? So we'll put our tape off to the side and we'll get sewing here. Off it, cut my threads. I'm going to grab my scissors here really quick, and I'm just going to cut any of my loose little threads here, okay? And you know what, you guys? We are done with this valance. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it on my curtain rod, okay? So going to cooperate with me. I had the part of the rod out, doesn't quite work that way. Okay, and then I'm just going to pull it through, and I am going to join you and show you what this rod looks like hanging up on my window. Okay. Forgot to clip those threads, but that's okay. We'll do that as soon as we get this through. Maybe a little ornery there. There we go. Okay. I'm going to clip those threads right there, and we're going to hang this valance up, and we are done, you guys. Can't wait to show you what it looks like. Okay, you guys, here is the finished valance. Now, I haven't put the one on the other window yet, so let's pan over to it. So the window went from this to this. What do you guys think? You see up close where I have that little extra part there? That was from that extra 1-inch seam that we did. And then able to bring it all the way around the edges. And there we are. Can't wait to sew my second one. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks again for joining me for another Inspiration Friday in my new craft room. I hope you liked this tutorial on making valances for a window covering. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to my channel. And if you're looking for more inspiration, check out my blog at funstuffcrafts.com.